The mind is a powerful weapon. It can enslave us or strengthen us. It can plunge us into the depths of misery or take us to the heights of ecstasy. Learn to use the power of the mind wisely. Life presents many difficulties and many possibilities and opportunities. It can be beautiful, but it can also be difficult. All of us who go through life face all kinds of situations and difficulties. There are people who go through life and grow because they have an open mind, a mind that learns from adverse circumstances. Others, however, are so marked by the difficulties that life has imposed throughout their history that they spend their entire lives suffering, believing that life is bad, that life is bitter, and that everything is exactly like that. The difference between people has to do with their mentality, with the mind they have. People who broaden their minds, who seek and open themselves to opportunities for growth, are people who will make a difference in this world. I really hope that you are one of those people who make a difference. The first lesson is, learn continuously. We must be developing our lives all the time. People with a broad mind are eager to evolve. They don't think they've already achieved the knowledge they need. They are always wanting to go further. They are not satisfied. By the way, I mean that this is very good for your brain. Your brain, like any other organ in your body, when it is not used, tends to deteriorate. People who stop having intellectual activities are more likely to acquire Alzheimer's. Learning expands our neural connections. Our brain is plastic. Now, I'm not just talking about the health point of view. Maybe you already have a profession or master a talent or skill that you think you've reached the level enough, but it's never enough. There's always something new to learn. I always want to learn something new in my life, in my personal life, in my professional life, in my spiritual life. Why? Because those who learn develop widely and become a more relevant person. People with a broad mind are learners all the time. I may be learning something now. So, I want to tell you that, in your professional area, do not consider yourself an expert. Be someone who always wants to learn, because when you broaden your mind, you acquire new heights. Do you know what is the mistake of many people who do not prosper? They are not open to learning. They are not humble enough to admit that they have something in life that they need to improve. So, spend time, first of all, analyzing what is the area of your life that you need to improve, what is the area in your life that you need to study. Once you've decided what that area is, take the first step. Look for mentors, look for people who can add value to your knowledge. The mind can always enlarge. We can grow through reading, in the spiritual life, reading the Bible, reading books, studying more and more, because the more knowledge you acquire, the more your mind is prepared for life. They say that intelligence is the ability that the individual has to solve unprecedented problems. So, my tip for you is, learn, study every day, take advantage of your time so that your mind has a lifelong repertoire that gives you the conditions to face difficulties and overcome them. The second lesson we need to learn in order to be broad-minded is to listen with intentionality. Listening with intentionality is an act of humility. When I say listening with intentionality, I mean listening by paying attention. Why? Because listening, everyone listens. Listening with intentionality is paying attention to what you do. As much as you know, you have to be listening with intentionality, because when you listen with focus, with intention, you learn. If you don't listen with will, with focus, you won't learn. But when you listen with intentionality, you'll learn. This means that it is an act of humility. There are hermetic people, closed people, people who say, "Oh, I've always done it this way, so it's going to stay that way." They are people who do not open themselves to life, do not transform, do not develop, do not progress, because they are closed to learning. Even the educated individual can grow in ability. No one needs to make the same mistake all their lives. No matter how old you are, you can learn. So, an excellent way for you to expand your life experience is to listen to people who have expertise, who have experience in an area, who have history in that area of interest that you want to learn. So, listen with intentionality, because listening with intentionality is an act of humility. First of all, You have to be humble to know that you don't know everything, and if you don't know everything, you have to learn. I always say that people who make decisions without listening to wiser people break their faces. If you want to open a business, look for the entrepreneur so that he can tell you about that area. If you are having a spiritual problem in your marriage relationship, seek a counselor. It's very important to listen to someone who already has experience, because mentors cut paths for you. Look for someone who has already lived it, who already has that experience, and ask him what the mishaps are, what the difficulties are, and how I can make my dream come true. Today, we are living in a time of enormous competitiveness in all areas of your professional life, in all areas. Those who know more come out ahead, but knowledge does not come by osmosis, it is sought. So, listening has to be intentional, because you can learn from anyone, even from the simplest people you can learn, because sometimes wisdom is not with the doctors, but it is with the simple people. God wants you to become an intentional listener. On the spiritual level, seek to learn from the giants. On an intellectual level, read a lot, have mentors who inspire you, don't settle for your relational level. Listen to what the other has to say intentionally, always trying to understand. The wise heart is the one that does not simply know all things, it is the one that is always open to learning. And in the relationship with people, with your wife, with your husband, with your children, with your friends, be ready to negotiate, be ready to compromise. Why? Because if you do, you'll have friends for life. But people who are not ready to open up, to change, to compromise, are people who lose precious people in their lives. The third lesson, dear ones, and the most important of them, is to put God first. Putting God first is very important, but in your heart, so that your mind is open, so that the Word of God can transform your way of understanding life. The fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise wisdom. So if you start on the wrong path, you won't get to the right place. Starting well, fearing God, is the beginning of a life of victory, wisdom, joy, gathering, prosperity at all levels, spiritual, relational, professional. Now, in people's lives, many people start on the wrong path and never get the return, because if you continue on the wrong path, you won't get to the right place. Whatever the path of your life, it may be in your marriage, it may be in your profession, it may be in your relationship with your children, if you don't start fearing the Lord in everything you do, the end of that path is death. That's why the Bible is saying that fools despise this teaching. And there are people who think that they will continue to do the same things and get different results. That was what Einstein said, it's an aphorism, it's a proverb. It is impossible for you to do the same things and get different results. So, the principle of wisdom is that you start fearing God in everything you do it for the glory of God. When your mentality goes one way and God says it's the other way, swallow your pride and take the right path, swallow your pride and get the return, because if you don't get the return, you won't get on the right path. There are paths that, for man, seem right, but in the end they are paths of death. Right priorities, if you don't put God first, you're going to have a lot of disappointments. I'm saying this because there are a lot of people who think they can put God first in salvation. Who told you that in your professional life, God is second, or third, or perhaps nowhere? Who tells you that, in your married life, you can handle it the way you want? How can someone be happy and have all the money in the world and have the family with the children diverted into drugs, prostitution? No, no one is happy like that. The principle is this: either God is a priority in your life, or you will fail in some area. Where your treasure is, there your heart will be. The value of life lies not in the number of days, but in the use we make of them. A man can live long and yet live little. The truth is that you can live the way you want, but you will live only once. We all have defects, we are human, we are sinners. But one thing God wants you to understand: in order for you to be blessed, you have to give Him first place for real. If God is not first in your life, things will go wrong. My brother, it is that what you love, what is first in your heart, is what attracts you. There are many people who are attracted to money and live for money, and money, instead of being an instrument, is an end. And then it enslaves. And there are so many people who are full of money, but the family is destroyed, life is not complete, it is not full. But people with broad minds are people eager to learn, they are lifelong learners. People with expanded minds need to have an understanding of eternal realities, that it is of good for a man to gain the whole world and lose his soul. An expanded mind must necessarily obey these three principles: to learn continually, to listen intentionally, and to put God first. Jesus said, "I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me."